Okay, Quincy Troupe is the former poet laureate of the state of California, and he's published 7 books of poetry. He's also the author of Miles, the autobiography, which received an American Book Award, James Baldwin, The Legacy, and the memoir, Miles and Me, a memoir of Miles Davis, which has recently come out. He edited Giant Talk, an anthology of third world writing, and is founding editor of Confrontation, a journal of third world literature, and also American Rag. Among other awards, he has received the Peabody Award for co-producing and writing the radio show, the Miles Davis Radio Project. He is Professor Emeritus at the University of California at San Diego, and he's taught at Columbia University. And are you there? I lost you for a minute. Let's welcome Quincy Troupe.
Yeah, I too want to feel honored to have received one of the Patterson Poetry Prizes, and I also want to say that Maria has been a great champion of poetry for many years in Patterson, and I've come over and done a lot of readings and work with her, and so you should feel honored that she continues to work so hard to put this center on the map and work so hard for poetry. There's not many people that work as hard as Maria again, so I just want to say that. I just moved back from California, to New York City from California, and so I'm getting adjusted, you know, to the snow. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, and this first poem is about my mother, who was a great woman. She'll be 87 this year, and who is really responsible for me writing and reading books and all of that, because she brought them into the house. And you'll learn a little bit about me in this poem. Mother, for Dorothy Smith Marshall. When I was growing up, she used to sit in the bathroom each and every morning smoking cool cigarettes, drinking hot coffee, reading newspapers, a hard toilet seat caressing her derriere, reading glasses in place, serious as cancer, the way her eyes devoured everything, finished old newspapers stacked up high as her waistline when she stood, proud, erect, defiant, all of 5 feet 2 inches tall in high-heeled shoes. Petite, she was a pistol when she was young, eyes blazing, boring in like bullets when her temper squeezed the trigger of her ire hard. Her rage, angry stars, she raised on me and my brother's backs and legs, dealt out with ironing cards that hissed through the air like whips, coiled snakes about to strike. It was her mother's influence, she used to like to say. She was scared to death of her mother, mama to me and my brother Timmy, who believed in retribution, payback, fear. To the bitter end, we watched mama slap mother around hard once or twice for some perceived transgression or indiscretion, but we loved them both deeper than fear itself. Loved mother, mama too, because we knew we were a lot to handle. My brother and me, born to do mischief in a neighborhood full of young thieves, malcontents, murderers to be, you name it, they thrived and flourished there. The good and straight we rejected out of hand as past tense. Negro, square as blocks we played with once until we wrapped our hands around straight razors. So she cracked the whip hard, raised whelps on our backs and hardening butts, legs and arms, kept fear alive in us to keep us in line and alive. She always had books around the house. Introduced me to poetry and novels, wanted to be a school teacher. Raising me and my brother got in the way of that. And as she grew older, she left a string of glassy-eyed suitors in her wake. My father being the first who didn't make it all the way home. where her sweet perfume trailed through the air like flowers blooming fresh in springtime, gardenias of Lady Day, sometimes jasmine or roses. It depended on her mood, but there was always something about her that kept them coming back for more. Time and again, whatever she had bewitched them, her charm maybe, that could be as dazzling as the smile flashing above her sensuous walk that beckoned, her steps so light she seemed to float through air. Murani yellow in skin tone, plum cushiony lips, splashed bright red and full, smooth. She called herself a party girl, though she was always much more than this, though she was this too. With a great sense of style, dressed to kill, cock robin, could press pedal to the metal out on the dance floor. She caused heads to swivel on necks like spinning tops whenever she passed, her fragrance tantalizing nostrils trailing behind her like a sweet-smelling, invisible plume. She's in her 80s now, still sits on the toilet stool each and every morning, repeating the same ritual, only now she doesn't smoke anymore. Everybody's gone to the other side, on her side of the family. Mama, her brothers Garfield and Alan, aunts and uncles, cousins, her daddy, mine too. Men her age still sniff behind her glassy-eyed whenever she honors them when she looks their way. Still a fashion plate, the best of her time, her smile remains dazzling. Her skill to squeeze copper from a penny, squirrel away money, a survivor of the Depression, she is tenacious for rainy days. She's softer now, tells me she loves me every time we speak over the telephone, tells me with regret she could have done better by me, but that's hogwash because she did the best she could with what she had, and that was more than enough to get us through all the madness. She's still a pistol at 81, has all her real teeth too, she will tell you, has outlived all her suitors except this last one, Biff, who she says is slowing down at 79. She still walks with a bounce in her stride, seems to still float across and through the air, her eyes blazing, bore in on you still like bullets whenever she squeezes the trigger of her hot temper, and I love her more than I could ever imagine, love her far deeper than fear itself. I want to read two more because this is a poem I wrote for Michael Jordan. It's a villanelle, and I wrote this poem for Michael Jordan after he had beat Utah in his last game when he won his last championship. And the reason I wrote it as a villanelle was because I wanted something that was relatively short and that also had a repeating line running through it, because Michael Jordan was like a nightmare to all the basketball players he played with in the NBA. He was like a nightmare, you know, like Larry Bird once said that guarding Michael Jordan was a horrible job. It was a bad job because all you saw was his the bottom of his sneakers going past his eyeballs. You know, so it was just a rough job. Anyway, so he won this game in 41 seconds. I've only written 2 basketball poems. I used to be a basketball player, and this is one of them. 41 seconds on a Sunday in June in Salt Lake City, Utah, for Michael Jordan. Rising up in time, Michael Jordan hangs like an icon, suspended in space, cocks his right arm, fires a jump shot for 2. The title game on the line, his eyes to radar screen screwed like nails into the mask of his face, bore in on the basket, gaze focused, a thing of beauty, no shadow or trace, no hint of fear. In this, his show place, his ultimate place to shine. Rising up in time, Michael Jordan hangs like an icon, suspended in space. After his move from baseline to baseline, sideline to sideline, his cold face shining, wagging his tongue, he dribbles through chaos, snaking serpentine, his eyes to radar screens screwed like nails into the mask of his face. He bolts a flash up the court, takes off, floats in for 2 more in this race for glory. It is his time, what he was put on earth for. He can see the headline, rising up in time. Michael Jordan hangs like an icon, suspended in space. Inside his imagination, he feels the moment he will embrace, knows his place is written here. Inside this quickening pace of nerves, he will define his eyes to radar screens screwed like nails into the mask of his face. Inside this moment, he will rule on his own terms. Quick as a cat, he interfaces time, victory and glory. As he crosses over his dribble, he is king of this shrine, rising up in time. Michael Jordan hangs like an icon, suspended in space, his eyes to radar screens screwed like nails into the mask of his face.
Marilyn was born in Hong Kong, raised in Portland, Oregon. She's the author of Rhapsody in Plain Yellow, The Phoenix Gone, The Terrace Empty, and Dwarf Bamboo, which was nominated for the Bay Area Book Reviewers Award. She also co-edited Dissident Song, a contemporary Asian American anthology, and co-translated, you know, something wrong with using bifocals, which it's very hard to read up here. And co-translated the selection poems of I Ching. I hope that's right. Her honors include 2 National Endowment for the Arts Writing Fellowships, the Mary Roberts Reinhardt Award, a Stegner Fellowship. She is a professor at San Diego State University, and she has a fellowship at the Radcliffe Institute at Harvard for this year, which is a pretty amazing thing to have gotten, and a really amazing bio, and I hope now you'll add the Patterson Poetry Prize to your list. Push, push. All right, let's welcome Marilyn Ching.
Thank you. It's great to be here. I have to begin with a blues poem, and but it's a blues poem after the African American tradition, but with that one drop of yellow blood. It's called Blues on Yellow. The canary died in the gold mine. Her dreams got lost in the sieve. The canary died in the gold mine. Her dreams got lost in the sieve. Her husband, the crow, killed under the railroad. The spokes hath shorn his wings. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. 10,000 yellow-bellied sapsuckers baked in a pie. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. 10,000 yellow-bellied sapsuckers baked in a pie. Something's cooking in Chin's kitchen. Die, die, yellow bird, die, die. Oh, crack an egg on the griddle. Yellow will ooze into white. Oh, crack an egg on the griddle. Yellow will ooze into white. Run, run, sweet little Puritan. Yellow will ooze into white. If you cut my yellow fists, I'll teach my yellow toes to write. If you cut my yellow fists, I'll teach my yellow toes to write. If you cut my yellow wrists, I'll teach my yellow feet to fight. Do not be afraid to perish, my mother. Buddha's compassion is nigh. Do not be afraid to perish, my mother. Our boat will sail tonight. Your babies will reach the promised land. The stars will be their guide. I am so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. I am so mellow yellow, Buddha sings in my veins. Oh, take me to the land of the unreborn. There's no life on earth without pain. Thanks. So I took that 3-bar traditional line structure with a repetitive second line and so forth, that traditional blues poem codified by Langston Hughes, and I took it, I cut it up, and I made other versions of the blues poem. This one is called Blues on Yellow too, and this is one of those existential angst poem about sitting around with a boyfriend arguing with him about nothing, right? It's about having that You know, the hormonal moment. Blues on yellow, 2. Twilight casts a blue pall on the green grass. The moon hangs herself on the sickly date palm near the garage. Songbirds assault a bare jacaranda, then boogie toward Arizona. They are fewer this year than last. Sadness makes you haggard and me fat. Last night you bolted the refrigerator shut. Extra, extra, read all about it. Chinese girl eats herself to death. Kiss a cold banquet and purge the rest. There's room in the sarcophagus if you want it. I put my hair up in a bereavement knot. Yours grow thinner, whiter, a pink skull cap. My Levi's hang loosely and unzipped. You won't wash, won't shave, won't dress. I'm your rib, your apple, your adder. You are my father, my confessor, my ox, my draft. Heartbreak comes again. When does it come? When your lamp is half dim and my moon is half dark. This book just wanted to sing. The muse just wanted to sing, and she was singing in quatrains and in refrains. I mean, I don't know what. I think Quincy had something to do with it. He was giving me a hard time. But so I started writing a lot of quatrains as well, and I try to merge East and West. And I was reading the Shijing, the Book of Songs, the Chinese Book of Songs, and Chinese quatrains, and I merged them with the English quatrains. So these are called Chinese quatrains, The Woman in Tomb 44. The airplane is shaped like a bird or a giant mechanical penis. My father escorts my mother from girlhood to unhappiness. A dragonfly has iridescent wings. Shorn is the lowly pismire, plucked of arms and legs, a throbbing red pepper pod. Baby, she's a girl, pinkly propped as a doll. Baby, she's a pearl, an oyster in the oyster of God. Cry, little baby clam, cry. Your steam has opened your eyes. Your secret darkly hidden. The razor is sharpening the knife. Abandoned taro leaf boat, its lonely black sail broken. The corpses are fat and bejeweled. The hull is thoroughly rotten. The worm has entered the ear and out the nose of my father, cleaned the pelvis of my mother, and ringed around her finger bone. One child beats a bedpan, one beats a fishhook out of wire, one beats his half-sister on the head. Oh, teach us to fish and love. Don't say your boudoir is too narrow. She could sleep but in one cold bed. Don't say you own many horses. We escaped on her skinny mare's back. Man is good, said Mengzi. We must cultivate their natures. Man is evil, said Sunzi. There's a worm in the human heart. He gleaned a beaded purse from Hong Kong. He procured an oval fan from Taiwan. She married him for a green card. He abandoned her for a blonde. My grandmother is calling her goslings. My mother is summoning her hens. The sun has vanished into the ocean. The moon has drowned in the fen. Disc of jade for her eyelids, a lozenge, a pearl for her throat, lapis and kudzu in her nostrils. They will rob her again and again.
Okay, and our last poet today is B.J. Ward. And B.J. was recently named Distinguished Teaching Artist by the New Jersey State Council on the Arts. and Teaching Artist of the Year by the Playwrights Theater of New Jersey. He has 3 volumes of poetry and is a recipient of poetry fellowships from the New Jersey State Council on the Arts and the Alliance for Arts Education in New Jersey. He teaches at Warren County Community College and works in the Writers in the School program. He earned an MA from Syracuse University and is founder and director of the Warren County Poetry Festival. Let's welcome B.J. Ward.
Thank you, Maria. It is really an honor to be here and humbling to read with poets of such caliber. This is called Roy Orbison's Last 3 Notes. 12 miles per hour over the speed limit on Route 80. I realize the way I know the exact size of my bones is the way I know I'm the only one in America listening to Roy Orbison singing Blue Bayou at this precise moment. And I feel sorry for everyone else. Do they realize they are missing his 3rd from last note, blue, and how it becomes a giant mouth I'm driving into? By becomes the finger pointing back, by, and all the sealed up cars greasing along this dirty, potholed clavicle of New Jersey don't know this you, constant as my exhaust smoke, you, and the beats underneath, more insistent than the landlord knocking on the door. Horns, drums, guitar, bass, my Toyota Corolla is now one serious vehicle. And the band and I are all alone now, filling it up. Roy and me in our cool sunglasses up front, and his musicians barely fitting their instruments in the back, driving into the blue, bum, 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 pulling ahead of the pollution faster than New Jersey can spit it out. By, boom, bomb. His leggy background singers must be jammed in the trunk, because suddenly I hear them, and suddenly we're Odysseus and his boys bringing the sirens with us, and the cassette player is our black box containing all essential details in case we don't make it. But I know we're gonna make it, because Roy Orbison turns to me and says, like the president says to his top general after a war has been won, or like Morgan Earp on his deathbed said to Wyatt when vengeance was up to him, or like Gretchen Honecker said when I knew I was about to get my first kiss. Roy turns to me and says, you. Thank you. The book that's in the company of all these other wonderful books is called Gravedigger's Birthday. 3 of the poems in it were originally published in Patterson Literary Review, and I like to read one. Should mention I was raised Catholic, which I'm very proud of, and some of the most compassionate people I've ever met are Catholic. But there's one particular tenet of the Catholic Church that caused my family a very particular sadness. I think that's all I need to say. This poem was written on the occasion of Pope John Paul II's historic apology in March 2000 to so many groups of people in the world for the Catholic Church's absence during their struggles. And, 2 things. A hematoma is a bruise close to the bone that causes a swelling beneath the skin. It looks like you have a golf ball, or if it's very bad, a softball beneath your skin. And the other thing, when the Vatican elects a new pope, a very ancient way of signifying that is it releases puffs of white smoke into the air. It's called My Mother's Last Cigarette. About a quarter of the poems in this book deal with this story, and this is one of the earlier ones in the book. My Mother's Last Cigarette, for His Holiness Pope John Paul II, March 2000. So now you have apologized to everyone in the world except my mother. Your mouth opened like cathedral doors beneath the pure, untouched steeple of your hat. And I'm sorry's flung out like shiny coins being tossed into the baskets of people's ears, except my mother's. Keep all those apologies. Shine them up and pray to them if you will. I want 1979. Give me back 1979. Rescind 1979 and your wide absence from my mother's needs, your wide endorsement of her ignoble sorrow. Give me back the seeds of ghosts sown in her eyes when the priests told her to take it, to take the absence of her own taken husband, to somehow, wrong as it was, and a pity, Tisk, a pity, to take the fists that were mountains bad gods lived on. Take their arcs, which traced a demon's wing on his right, an angel's back on his left. Take the bear hugs and take them again. To take and to hold, they said, to pray for him and all the husbands who've gone astray. I said, give me back my mother's eyes. When your priests, all of them, told her she was married before God and God was watching and she must pray harder. And we did. We did. We prayed and made our hands campfires hot with wishes pointed toward heaven. Pushed our palms together like pressing machines that might press those wishes into prayers, beautiful enough for angels to pick up and carry to our Lord. I said, rescind 1979. When the entire world outside our house was popping pills, creating little disco floors with little lights flashing, and everyone suddenly pink brains, everyone except my mother. Sober as a burnt-down church, kneeling at the kitchen table, cracked tooth, hands letting go of the repo notice, too afraid to see the doctor. Your priest's her only last option. I said rescind it all. The hematomas, the priest's cocksure reputations that now stood between my weeping mother and Jesus' wide embrace. Rescind it now. Rescind 1979, and I'll forget how she looked ornate in her misery and bruises, and how she picked up her Newports and lit her last cigarette. Nowhere to turn. Your church is nothing but walls our personal tyrant could hide behind. But you can't. You can't rescind her last cigarette and black eyes and empty pockets and good Catholic shame for not being a better wife. The priest said to be a better wife. Nor can you rescind her 2 sons learning to cry without noise, looking at her through a hole punched in the wall. And you have no power to rescind the 3 white puffs of smoke they saw rising from her, coronating a new secular holiness in our vast and troubled land.